Being the bass player in the world's greatest heavy metal band is no easy task. It's so difficult that the mighty Metallica has gone through 5 of them. We know right now some of you are counting them on your fingers and saying, wait, I count 3. Others are probably saying, wait, I count 4. Where the hell are you getting 5? For this list, All Things Top 5 ranks the top 5 Metallica bass players that have been slapping the bass from the No Life Til Leather demo all the way to their most current album.
Slapping the bass, mama. Slapping the bass, mama.
There you go.
Slapping that bass, mama. I slapping that bass.
Please don't do that.
Number 5, Bob Rock.
Yeah, that sounds real farty to me.
Alright, settle down people, I hear you. Bob Rock was never officially a member of Metallica, but he did write and record all of the bass parts on the 2003 album Saint Anger after Jason Newsted left the band.
He left the band! I mean, period! Exclamation point! Yeah!
Bob Rock's first entry as bass player for Metallica happened during the recording of I Disappear for Mission Impossible 2 when Jason didn't show up for pre-production. Bob ended up playing bass so the band could rehearse the song. Since the song was in the early stages, Bob filled in so James and Lars could figure out what they wanted to do with the song musically. During the tumultuous times during the Saint Anger recording sessions, where Jason left the band, James was battling his addiction, and Lars forgot to turn on the snare. The remaining members of Metallica enlisted the help of a personal enhancement coach, Phil Towle, to help them work out decades of personal problems and internal struggles. They asked Bob Rock to fill in as their bass player for the recording of Saint Anger so they could still finish the album, search for a new bass player, and work on themselves emotionally so when they finally found a bass player, he wouldn't be stepping into a hot pile of Bob was already pulling double duty as the producer for the album, as well as the bass player, until the band could find a permanent replacement.
You want the gig? I'll have a chat with the boys.
Yeah, right.
Huh?
I'm too old, I'm too fat.
The band had to learn to play together again and get their feet wet by playing live to a small audience at the Raiders tailgate in 2003. In order to play the gig, Bob had to learn a 40-minute Metallica set where he quickly learned playing bass live wasn't that easy.
Let's play at the same tempo as us.
All Bob had to do was learn all of Cliff and Jason's part, sing back up, and not smile so much while playing with the band.
Don't
It's gonna be tough, though.
Don't say search and seek in the store and then start smiling as you're
I can't help it.
staining destroy.
We'll come
Maybe I
and
should
kick
wear
you
like
in
a
the
mask
back.
or something. It's so fun playing this kind of music.
Number 4, Ron McGovney. The legendary Cliff Burton is often thought to be Metallica's first bassist since he is featured on all the early recordings. It was, however, Ron McGovney who first held down the low end in the band. Some would consider him the original Metallica bassist since he appeared on the historic No Life Til Leather demo. McGovney's tenure in Metallica was a rough time in his life since he often clashed with Lars and Dave Mustaine. He felt that his primary role wasn't a respected member of the band, but the money person and the transportation provider for the other members.
And then the music business briefly.
Oh?
Yeah, roadie for Metallica.
Oh.
All the songs that were found on Kill 'Em All were written in Ron's garage, and he played them all during his time in Metallica. According to Ron, some of the songs off of Kill 'Em All were arranged by him, but he was never credited for anything, and he played at least 28 gigs with Metallica in the first year. Ron ultimately quit before the recording of Kill 'Em All and was replaced by Cliff Burton. After leaving Metallica, McGovney became uninterested in playing music and sold most of his equipment. Ron reemerged for the first time in 2011 to play bass for 2 songs alongside Metallica during their 30-year celebration. During Metallica's induction to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the band flew Ron out to be part of the celebration. James apologized to Ron for things not going well in the band and acknowledged that Ron was a big part of their success. A plaque talking about No Life Til Leather with Ron and Dave Mustaine's name on it hangs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. As for Ron, that is good enough for him and he doesn't need any more.
Today we spell redemption R-O-N.
Number 3, Jason Newsted. Following the passing of Cliff Burton, Metallica immediately started auditioning for bass players. The band auditioned over 50 musicians and Jason was the last in line and ended up winning the part. To his advantage, Jason strategically procured the band set list, studied it, and presented it to Lars saying he knew all of these songs, much to Lars' surprise. 2 days later, Jason was in Metallica, but during the darkest period of the band's history. Jason made his studio debut on the 598 EP, Garage Days Re-Revisited, in 1987, which was followed by his first studio album, Justice for All, in 1988. His full studio debut was a subject of controversy and criticism for the lack of bass present in the album.
It's way too high. More bass. Level the frequency.
Jason at first claimed this was further hazy on the part of Lars and James, although both Lars and James claimed they were also disappointed with the production of the album. This is also the first time the world got to see Metallica and their new bass player in their very first music video for the song One.
Shut up, Beavis.
Jason is known for his bass solo, which included parts of My Friend the Misery, which Jason had originally written as an instrumental. On the Black Album, Jason approached his bass parts differently. He played more with Lars' kick drum, so his bass lines were more distinct from James' guitar lines. They were not getting in each other's way. Bob really helped them with orchestrating and bringing out the low end, getting the guitar and bass to work together. In fact, when James played the album for a friend, he asked, "What is that weird low end sound?" He said, "That's something new for us. It's called bass."
I don't like it.
During his time in Metallica, Newsted also contributed backing vocals to a number of Metallica songs. During tours, he would often sing parts of Creeping Death, Whiplash, and Seek and Destroy. Newsted eventually left Metallica in 2001, which he claimed was due to private and personal reasons and the physical damage I've done to myself over the years while playing the music that I love. Though some of that might have been true, the real reason is because James forbid him to pursue other musical side projects because it would take away from the strength of Metallica. In Jason's 14 years with Metallica, he helped save the band in a moment of great crisis and contributed his talents during the most productive years of the band's history. Newsted was resilient and thick-skinned, and he played great on stage. He was soon embraced by fans and critics who never imagined anyone could replace Cliff Burton. Number 2, Cliff Burton. Cliff didn't live long enough to reach his full potential as a bass player for Metallica, and that's why he takes our number 2 spot. Just kidding, you can stop writing the angry comments now. Number 2, Robert Trujillo. Born Roberto Agustin Miguel Santiago Samuel Trujillo Veracruz, well, that took up some watch time minutes, is the current bassist for Metallica. Rob replaced Jason in 2003 after an acrimonious episode in 2001 that was depicted in the 2004 documentary, Some Kind of Monster. Although he is seen as the newest bass player for Metallica, he is now the longest-serving bass player, longer than Jason Newsted.
So what's Jason's role in all this?
What? Who?
With his low-slung playing style, flamenco influence, and crab-like stance, Metallica found his performance convincing enough to bring him back for another audition, and then finally offer him the job. James said that Rob makes the band play better, with Kirk saying that the songs haven't been played that way since Cliff. Although he was hired during the writing of Saint Anger, he didn't have any input in the creation of that album. His official debut wasn't until Death Magnetic, which was a long-awaited return to the band's thrash roots and victim of the loudness war, with its overly compressed sound and excessive clipping.
Anything?
Nothing, just static.
James claims Rob has already contributed more than his predecessor Jason Newsted did in 14 years. Lars also revealed that Rob managed to infiltrate the long-standing Hetfield-Ulrich writing partnership. Rob would spend a lot of time being the third wheel in the Hetfield-Ulrich songwriting process, and those two would bounce ideas off of him and he would come up with suggestions when they would get stuck. Kirk is equally complimentary of Rob by saying when he looks over at him and he's playing his bass on stage, it feels like he's always been there. His chemistry, his personality, it just all fits really, really well. Rob's furious and energetic stage presence soon became a mainstay in Metallica's stage show, and it's remained that way ever since. Before we get to number 1, remember to subscribe to All Things Top 5 and ring the bell to be notified for our latest videos. Number 1, Cliff Burton. Famous for his bell-bottom jeans, fudged-out wah-infused bass solos, and virtuosic technique, Cliff is by far considered the OG bassist for Metallica. In 1982, Cliff's former band Trauma was playing at the Whiskey A Go-Go. Among those in attendance was James and Lars.
I'm psyched. This is how Metallica started. They had their first gig at like a Chick-fil-A, I think.
Upon hearing, as James described it, this amazing shredding, the two went in search of what they thought was an amazing guitar player. When they learned what they heard was a bass solo by Cliff, they decided to recruit him from Metallica to replace Ron McGovney. Cliff's debut album was Kill 'Em All, which features Cliff's famous solo piece, Anesthesia Pulling Teeth, which showcased his use of the wah pedal, not commonly used by bass guitarists. Metallica's second album, Ride the Lightning, showcased Cliff's songwriting abilities, and he received credit on 6 of the 8 songs on the album. Cliff's playing style and use of effects is showcased on 2 tracks, the chromatic intro to For Whom the Bell Tolls, and the lead bass on The Call of Cthulhu. It's on this album where Cliff used his formal training in music and introduced that band on how to incorporate harmonies and melodies and how they work together to make a song more dynamic. It was with Cliff's encouragement that the band released their first acoustic ballad, Fade to Black. Cliff saw that song as a step forward in the band's direction.
You guys are sellouts!
Come on, Cal.
You're freaking sellouts!
It's okay, man, come on.
We do what we want to do, you know? If they consider that selling out, then whatever.
Metallica's third album, Master of Puppets, featured lead bass on the instrumental Orion and is considered as Cliff's swan song. The bass swells and harmonies on Damage Incorporated were based on a Bach piece called Come Sweet Death and is an example of his diverse taste and musical training. Although Cliff died after the recording of Master of Puppets in a tragic bus accident during the Damage Incorporated tour, he did receive writing credit for the lyrics and bass parts for the song To Live Is To Die off the album And Justice For All. The bass parts were taken from unused bass recordings done by Cliff, which were re-recorded by Jason Newsted. In 2009, Cliff was posthumously inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Though Cliff's contribution to Metallica was brief, the first 3 Metallica albums serves as a template for all music within that genre. Do you agree or disagree with our list? Does Bob Rock count as a bassist for Metallica? Comment below and watch our other videos, and subscribe to All Things Top 5.